Hello and welcome. I am Zerbraxi, and I want to talk to you a little bit about a game that you might have heard of that's coming out, or is out by the time you're watching this, because I plan on putting this video out the day the game comes out, so that Monday, I guess, now is moved up a little bit, so yeah. Overwatch, and the hype for it, and my hype for it, and some of the great and the curses and blessings of hype and all of the fun stuff that comes with it. Let me just tell you straight out, Overwatch is a game I'm super stoked for. I really am excited about, and I'm sure you will see me, if you see me live stream, I'll be live streaming it mostly a lot more. I want to get into live streaming again. I do love it, and the times I've done it have been such a blast. Everyone's been always great. I do really enjoy it, and I love hanging out and playing with people, and that's like the best part, is playing with people who are watching. So much fun. So Overwatch, though, I'm going to be doing a lot more of, or with that at least, and I love playing it. I'm really excited. I played a lot of it over the beta events. I'm super stoked. But so are a lot of other people, and there's some really good things to come out of that, and some really bad things to come out as well. You see, hype is always like a really weird, funny thing. I've always been someone who tries to keep my hype relatively low, or at least a bit more in check, I guess is a better way of putting it. I'm totally cool with people being so crazy and super nerd. I mean, so just to give you an example, over the last week, I've literally watched at least about an hour or two of Overwatch videos a day for the last week. I've been studying any sort of information that's out, even if it's completely useless, just because I want to read it and I want to see it. I can actually I'll post some of the Google Doc links in the description below, and maybe I'll show them on screen here if I can remember. This is about 4 o'clock in the morning I'm recording this, so I'm hoping I remember all of this. But any little bit of information I've found, I think is interesting, and at least it's just like that. Oh, that's kind of neat. I'm a numbers person, so I kind of like a lot of the spreadsheets and all the Excel stuff. I've always been a big micro kind of person. But regardless, the point is, I'm super hyped for it. And it really occurred to me the other day when I was watching a video about somebody critiquing an element of the game. For example, they were talking about why the game doesn't have single player and why it should. Now, I respectfully disagree, and very much so, and I don't want to make this video about that discussion, but just to use this as a point, I very much disagree with that point, and I think every argument that this person had made was very misguided and very much for the wrong reasons, and very short-sighted, and didn't really think about the impact that putting in a campaign to this game would have on the rest of it. And same goes for a lot of other games. People have been wanting, say, a multiplayer-only version of Call of Duty for quite a while. I'm not a big COD player. I haven't played one, or really, I haven't purchased one since Black Ops, so I have no idea how the current ones go. But I've heard it, and I've wanted it as well. I was like, oh, maybe I'll give it a shot. But the issue is, you're spending, say, $60 on a game that has had millions and millions of dollars and a lot of hours put into a campaign that'll last you a couple hours, and that's about it. And that seems pointless and redundant for a game that, for the most part, at least now, is about the multiplayer. I would argue, yes, the early iterations are about the single player, but the old ones aren't about the multiplayer. But you see, the point is, you can have this discussion, or I'm thinking about it, and I'm trying to think about it critically and honestly, and I'm like, okay, well, I see where you're coming from, but this is why I disagree. The comment section was just ruthless. I mean, ruthless. Any complaint about Overwatch was just, and this is not just this video, any video I've seen of anybody pointing out a single thing wrong with Overwatch has been met with obnoxious fervor. I'm talking like this crazy level of almost religious vigor that just is the epitome of the fanatics. It's a crying shame, because there are a bunch of us out here who are super excited for the game, who are way more chill, way more lax, and just way more interested in the game, but we understand that the game isn't perfect. There are things that should be done better, there are things that could be done better, and that's a good place to stand, is to be able to understand both sides of that. So, why is too much hype bad, but also why can hype be good? So let me just kind of break this down briefly to what my overall thoughts are. First off, let me just start out straight up. Why am I hyped about this game? And why should you be excited for it as well? Why should it be on your lookout? Well, if you're interested in shooters or anything like, and I make these comparisons because they are easy to make. However, having played the game more and more, I definitely think they're not as accurate as they seem to be. But if you've played games like MOBAs or Team Fortress 2, then there's definitely a lot of similarities in Overwatch. So if you like those games and you like shooters, it's a fun game, and it's really good for that. Specifically, the gameplay is it's solid. It's tight, man. It is so good, and all of the way that the heroes work together, the way the maps can be used and manipulated by certain heroes and different compositions, it's really interesting and really fun. And you never feel like you're at a loss of options. It's not like a typical MOBA like League of Legends or Dota or Heroes of Newerth, where you pick a character and you realize, crap, they straight up hard countered me, and I'm completely screwed. So in order to do that, someone else on my team has to pick a hard counter for them, so we kind of even it out. The thing with Overwatch is because you can change your hero every time you die or every time you return to the spawn, you can just change your hero straight out, so it's more and more adaptive, it's way more dynamic, and it makes the games way more interesting, and I really appreciate that. That is super fun. The game isn't necessarily innovative. I think a lot of people have been saying it's this new innovative idea. I would very argue it's not. I would say it's iterative. I think iterative is the better way to put it. Blizzard has this track record of not necessarily making new ideas, but taking ideas that exist and then pushing them further, like to the nth degree, and just making them better, like perfecting that formula. It's worked for them in the past. I mean, action RPGs weren't new when Diablo first came out, and yet Diablo is considered one of the best, if not the greatest, action RPG series of all time. World of Warcraft was not new, or MMOs were not new when World of Warcraft was out, hardly. And it's easily still been the most played MMORPG ever. It's one of the most played games ever in general. Warcraft 3, StarCraft, I mean, the list kind of goes on. Hearthstone, none of those genres were new at all for their time. And even Overwatch, the style of game is hardly new, but they've iterated upon it enough to make it really interesting and to make it really different in just the right way, but yet keep it similar and easy to learn. And I think that's a lot. I think that's very fair, and something that really excites me about the game is that it's not something new I have to learn as a whole. It's a lot of little things that I still haven't learned, and I'm looking forward to learn in hours and hours and hours to come. Something else that's really got me hype, and one of the reasons why I'm super pumped for the game, is the Blizzard's business model. It's stellar. It is fantastic. The fact that and this is something that's funny because I've heard a lot of people complain that the game is $40 or $60 for multiplayer only. And yet those same people will typically buy a $40 or $60 multiplayer game and then never play the campaign anyway. But that's another discussion for another time. The reality is this. You know what you're getting out of the box. And you know, because Blizzard has already said this, and a lot of us are holding them to this, that new maps and new heroes will not be charged for. That is amazing. That is a return to form of the old arena shooters, Unreal Tournament, Quake, all those, Counter-Strike, all of those. When you made a new map, you didn't pay for it for some DLC. You just got it. Because that's what it was. The company felt, you've already paid for our game. Any support we give is yours. You've already paid for it. Talk about a cool return to form. Talk about a business model that's how it should be. Something that's smart too is by not locking heroes and maps behind paywalls, you're not splitting your player base that a lot of other, shooters do. Games like Battlefield or Call of Duty, where whenever you have a new map pack, you instantly segregate your player base pretty harshly. So much so that sometimes friends just can't even play together, so they don't even bother. For example, I ended up wanting to play Battlefield 4 with a friend of mine after a bunch of the fixes had been made to the game, and because I didn't have one of the map packs, I just straight out couldn't play with him for a lot of the maps because his favorite ones were on a server, or the server he played on had a lot of these maps in the rotation, and it wouldn't let me join the server. So instead of being like, oh, I should buy the DLC pack, I just said, screw it. I got frustrated and then just didn't play it. That's not a good position to be in, and it's something I'll always remember in future when I'm looking to play a Battlefield game, is that this is a practice that they go with. And I don't want to always feel like I'm on edge and waiting for them to release some sort of content that suddenly lets me not be able to play with my friends, or I have to spend $15 in order to do so. That's just not fun at all. At least with Overwatch, I know that any of the new characters and any of the new maps, anything that's going to make me or stop me from playing the game with my friends, those things just aren't going to exist. There's always going to be a moment when I can play with them. There's always going to be the ability to play with any of my friends at any moment, at any time. And that's what really excites me in that regard. And then there's also the big longevity. It's a Blizzard game. They're notorious for keeping up with their games forever. I mean, Diablo 2 just got another Battle.net update, and that game's been out. What, the expansion came out in 2001? So it's been out for like 15 years. And that game just still got another update. Warcraft 3 as well just got another update. StarCraft 2 got updated all the way up until StarCraft 1, sorry, got updated all the way up until StarCraft 2 did. And World of Warcraft still being updated and iterated upon. Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, those are new. But the thing is, and the reality is, Blizzard is notorious for not leaving their IPs for a very long time. They're always working on stuff. And that, you know then, is a safe bet. You're not just going to get Overwatch 2 next year. Or we hope. But the reality is, the hope is, and the skepticism can exist, and the cynicism can exist. I get it. But more than likely, that's not going to happen. Now, here's where hype does get to become an issue, though. One of the things that hype really does to people, and it's myself and everybody, it'll instantly just stop you from being able to think critically about something. Because of it, you start to become this kind of pompous jerk and just like, nope, it's perfect. So in a game like World of Warcraft, for example, a game that's very passionate to me and very personal to me because I ended up playing it since that game was in vanilla very few months after the game actually released. I like that game a lot, and it still holds a very special place to my heart, but I didn't very much think about it critically and really rip into it where it needs to be ripped into. And the same should go for Overwatch. There are faults with it. There are major issues that do exist. Maybe not necessarily as blaring as other games, like game-breaking bugs and glitches, but there are issues that I think should be addressed in future. For example, the ranked matching system, or the ranked play system, was pretty crap when it existed in closed beta, and a lot of people said it was bad. They haven't released really the new form of that ranking system, at least not to the mass public that I've been able to play, and that's something to always be careful of. I'm happy that they decided to not just work with the crappy system they had and was better. They just decided, you know what, let's just pull it down and work with it. That brings a lot of hope to me. But the reality is, if it's crap, and you should call it out for being crap. Another thing is just that the maps, the gameplay, or the different gameplay modes, there's not many. There's literally just the capture and defense. There's the capture point where you're assaulting, there's the capture and hold in the middle point, and there's the payload. They're all very objective based, which is good, but there's not a big variety. One literally just makes it so that way you're competing for one, or that you're competing for 2 points, one's competing for 1 point, really not much of a difference there, and one is to push a payload across, which if you've played TF2, it's the same exact thing. It's not very broad, and it's not very interesting with its gameplay modes. And I don't want to say that's okay, but those gameplay modes work well for the way the game is designed, and I'm okay with that. However, there should definitely be more. There really should be. The current amount that they have, I would argue I don't want to say is inexcusable, but it's shocking that there's so few. They do have the Mystery Brawl to hope kind of get those things, packed up, so that way you can kind of mix yourself around, but that may only hold you over for a little bit each week, even though the Mystery Brawls, if they're anything like the way Hearthstone was, they're typically pretty fun. The other thing that hype can really do is just instantly make you fanboy and just ignore everybody, and you don't want to be that guy. We've all argued with that guy, where you say, look, this is just something that really bothers me about this franchise, and they instantly just defend it, they're hard against it, like this company can do no wrong. From that, it makes you stop holding Blizzard accountable. Let's use the Total War Warhammer pre-order thing, just for a quick excuse here, to give me a reason to kind of poke at this, because I still hate this with a burning passion. So what Total War Warhammer first announced their pre-order bonus, it was the Chaos Warriors, who are a very, very integral part of the game. A very integral part of the entire fantasy. They're like the big guys. They're the big, monumental faction of that franchise, or at least one of the big ones. And that race is now locked behind a pre-order bonus. And it caused people to riot, basically. If you find the original launch trailer for it, the dislike bar is obnoxious. However, just like anything else, the dislike bar doesn't actually mean a whole lot. Because they just released the gameplay trailers, or they released an actual playthrough of some of the campaign for the Chaos Warriors, And the interesting thing is this. They changed it so it's no longer just a pre-order bonus, but instead a pre-order and if you purchase the game during the first week bonus. And suddenly people are okay with that. I'm not, and I find that to be completely ridiculous. However, when you're so hype about something, you start to let companies get away with these things, and it's a big issue later on. The thing is, that something like that now that Total War is doing is now seen as the norm, and the companies now know that they can get away with it. It's not just that Creative Assembly and Sega and them can get away with it now. It's that Activision's going to see that, EA's going to see that, Blizzard's going to see that, Bungie's going to see that. They're all going to see it and say, oh, well, if we just do something wrong, if we just give it a couple months, people will just eventually eat it. When you're super hyped like that, you stop holding companies accountable. And that's just not a good position to be in. Companies are big boys and girls. They're big adults. They can handle criticism. In fact, they want it. They want to know if something isn't as good as it could be. A lot of these video game developers are passionate artists that want to make something the best it can possibly be. And by denying that criticism, by denying that, you're not only denying them the ability to create something better, you're also denying yourself this beautiful experience that could be far beyond what you may even be able to fathom. If a game company cannot take criticism, they're not a game company worth buying from, at all. They're not artists. They're cons. They're trying to get a quick buck out of you. The people who are the most passionate are the ones who can sit back and say, you know what, we agree. After looking at this, we've decided you're right. This is wrong, it could be better. Overwatch has done that numerous times, and it's one of the reasons why I'm excited for it. They were able to really show this, though, because of the criticism. They were able to show that, yes, they can take the criticism, they can really handle it, and they can make things better because people pointed out their flaws, and because people pointed out everything that was wrong or things that could have been better, and they were able to take it like adults. Criticism isn't bad. Being hype isn't bad. But don't let it rule everything. It's not the end all. The game isn't perfect. It could be better. It can be better. And hopefully, it will be better. Just try to remember that next time a new game's coming out that you're super pumped for. Don't be afraid to call the company out on some things that might be crap. Trust me, it will be better for you in the end if you do. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's very different than the stuff that I typically do. I hope you enjoyed it. This is, again, it's now like 20 minutes in. It's like almost 4:30 in the morning now. I'm tired. Overwatch comes out soon. I'm super excited for it. I hope you all are too. And I hope this is interesting. If you want to see more of these types of videos, please let me know. I think I would like to do some more of this stuff, but if people don't like it, then I just won't. I totally get it. But yeah, I hope you all enjoy it. And if you want, I hope you can see me and play with me on Overwatch. If you want, I'll put my battle tag or something on the video or in the description if you want to check it out and play with me. Feel free to hit me up and add me. But yeah, keep on the lookout for on the channel for some more stuff. I'm working on a lot of stuff this summer, so I hope you all are super excited. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm going to see you next time.